everybody, Wayne here. In today's Let's Play, I'm going to be taking a look at First Crusade, 1097 through 1099. Designed by Joseph Miranda and published by Decision Games in Strategy and Tactics number 299. This is a solitaire wargame where you play as the Crusaders, along with the Byzantine forces, attempting to retake the Holy Land. I'm not going to be doing a full playthrough, it would just take too long, but what I will do is I will describe the map, I'll describe the units, how the game works itself, and then I'll play through at least a full turn, just to give you guys a good example of the gameplay. And instead of having a separate review video on this one, I'll just go ahead and end this video with a mini review. Alright, let's get on the table and take a look at the game. Alright, I have the map set up for a playthrough. Let's go ahead and I'll just kind of describe what the map, the units, the play area, the counters, and then we'll dive into actual playthrough itself or actual gameplay. Again, I'm not going to play through the whole thing, just play through part of it. Maybe 1 or 2 turns. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so you can see I have the entire board set out here. Now I did my own dice. Green will be for the Muslims, red will be for the Crusaders / Christian forces, which I control the Christians, and the system manages the Muslim, for the most part, defenders. We have a terrain effects chart in the top left. We have a terrain key, so each of the units, right, it is point-to-point movement along different routes. The terrain, each of them will have a different function or different capability. Something like desert, not good for you. Being a town or a fortress, better when you need to check supply, not so good when maybe you're attacking a fortress. So speaking of which, the routes here. So we have an eastern route, which you can see comes off east from Constantinople. And I think I have it mostly covered here, so apologies. I have all the units. So all the Byzantine and all the Crusader units are in Constantinople, ready to begin the First Crusade. You can go the eastern route. You can see heads on through here. Now, there's times where you can cut through these passes. However, that does take more movement. And so most of the time, we're just going to be traveling along a route by itself. Caesarea, Edessa, continuing down through the desert, Damascus, ultimately ending at Jerusalem. Each of the routes ends at Jerusalem. You have the central route, leaving Constantinople. You have Nicaea, obviously a target for the Crusades and especially for the Byzantines. Continuing down, Iconium, Heraclea, up through Armenia here, Christian Armenia, Aleppo, and continuing down, Tiberias, and again to Jerusalem. You have the Assassin Fortress here. And then you have the coastal route, so heading down, sort of south-southwest, Pergamum, Smyrna, Ephesus, heading through, Tarsus, and, oh, here we go. Now we're getting into the Crusader Pilgrim Fortresses. So these are the ones that your main goal, right, is to capture. So Antioch, of course, these names are going to sound familiar. Tripoli, heading down, Acre, there's Ascalon, and then into Jerusalem itself. And then finally, there is a Mediterranean route, a sea route here. You can see it's not used as much in this game, for sure. Just the time period, the reality of the fleets, there wasn't a lot of naval action in the First Crusade, but you have roads continuing on to Cyprus here. Different fortresses, we have, I mentioned the Crusader pilgrimage forces, right? So you have the shield on there, and then Damascus is technically one of them as well. But then you also have, for the icon, the symbol for Byzantine Empire, those are going to be Byzantine objective fortresses. So you want to try to capture as many of them as you can. Gives you special actions, which I'll cover in a second. All right, so continuing kind of looking at the map here, looking at the board itself, Muslim counteroffensive table. So they're one of the steps in the latter half of a turn. It's going to be checking for any Muslim counteroffensives. There's an event table. Events will be the first step that happens in a turn. And you have a bunch of display boxes for things like your camps, monasteries and castles you can build, looking at the bottom left. You have, when you draw for Christian pilgrimage markers, which you will draw at certain times. For holding boxes, you have Armenia. So right now it's unactivated. Eventually it's activated. You would flip the counter over in the box. Battle marker. You can see at the bottom, battle display for Christian and Muslim forces. I may end up just putting them right here or something so you guys can see it a little better, and I'll zoom in. But there is boxes for that technically. And what you do is you take that battle marker and put it in whatever location the battle is occurring. Christian Crusader markers, okay. Muslim reaction chart, and then battle rounds. So during battles outside of fortresses, you roll to see how many rounds there are. If it's in a fortress, only 1 round. Muslim reaction chart and reaction level. This is going to be how many dice are rolled when you are entering combat to see how many Muslim forces show up. Also, and we'll go into details in that, but you want to keep that as low as possible because 1d6 is bad enough. 2d6, 3d6, yeah, good luck with that. And then I already kind of covered the play area itself. You know, you're moving down these tracks, if you will. And then looking at the top right, you have the turn record track, steps per turn, special actions. So basically, each of the turns starts with 1097 spring. You'll have 9 turns, ends with 1099 autumn. You're going to check for steps. There's going to be an event you're going to roll on. You get 3 regular actions. You're going to see how many special actions you have. Again, I'll cover the details of that in a minute when we actually do the gameplay. Each of those actions, there's something like over a dozen. So things like land marches, sea moves, recruiting, diplomacy, rallying units, flipping them over, building a castle, building a monastery, building a camp, regular marches, supplied marches. We'll cover most of them or a bunch of them when we get to the actual playthrough itself. If you have your different actions and any special actions you do, you have that Muslim response that I talked about, both for seeing if the Muslim reaction level increases and then also any Muslim counteroffensive. And then if it's autumn, which means you're going through winter, at the end of that, you will then check for supplies. You want to make sure your forces are in a port, in a fortress, in a town, basically are able to be supplied. If they're caught out in the open, it's bad news for you. Your goal, of course, at the end is to, accrue victory points. So, how do you get victory points? You want to control Jerusalem. That gives the most. That gives you 10. If you control different Crusader pilgrimage fortresses, those give you a few. Armenian fortresses controlled by Christians, that gives you a few. Each Byzantine objective fortress, right? So Ephesus, Iconium, Cyprus, Tarsus, those give you a few, etc., right? Like, you need to control areas, control fortresses, which just like they did historically, right? Marched down, took Jerusalem, didn't control everything, but they definitely controlled a large area. At the end, you add up your victory points. If you get at least 41 plus, you get a victory. 51 plus is overwhelming victory. Anything less will be a draw or defeat and disgrace. So, it also is sudden death, victory, or defeat. If you control Jerusalem and then all other fortresses, which good luck doing that, you automatically win. And then if you have no Crusader leader units on the map, again, that's really, really unlikely to happen. You automatically lose. I think that's it for the overview. Let's just dive into the gameplay, and I'll describe things as I go. I'm sure I'll zoom in, and I'll have some things pop up on the screen, but let's just see if we can get ourselves through a turn or two. All right, let's do it. All right, first turn, 1097, spring. First step, the event step. I'm going to roll on the event table. Should have it pop up just so you guys can see it a little easier. It'll be 2 dice. You're just going to roll 1 die, then go down to the other die. So let's go ahead and do the red first, rolling for me. So red first, so red will be the top. Green will be the second die. So 6, 3. So 6, 3, and that is storms. Wonderful. What does that mean? Roll 1 die for each sea space containing Christian fleets. On a 1 to 2, pick up all fleets in that space and any transport units, move them to Constantinople. Thankfully, I have no units that have left Constantinople, so no worries. So the storms pass uneventfully. All right. Next step is the first regular action. So I mentioned this at the beginning, you get 3 regular actions, then we can determine how many special actions we get, which, just as a preview, when you first start the game, you're going to have 1 special action available. So, all right. First regular action. So things like, I mentioned before, recruiting, rallying reduced units, any diplomacy, which basically activates Armenia, or you can gain pilgrimage markers. Go on a pilgrimage, which pilgrimage markers, land marches, which you can do with or without a leader unit. Sea move, leader sea move, supplied march. Supplied march is moving from like a fortress to another fortress that you already control. Then you don't have to roll for what's the term I'm thinking of here? attrition. So when you are moving, and you're about to see this because I'm going to have to move some armies around, right? We're going to make attrition checks, or possibly, if you have to make an attrition check, it's not good. Trust me. So let's go ahead. We're going to assemble a force quick, and I'm going to send out an army of Crusaders, an army of our men in the red here with the red banner at the top. And we're going to get marching, and I think we're going to go after Nicaea for sure. So let me go ahead and kind of assemble a little army here, and we'll do that. All right, so I created what the game calls a force, and I just laid them out here so you guys can see them. They're still in Constantinople. Basically, a force is any group of units that you're moving, fighting with, etc. I laid out the actual leaders up top here. So there's 3 combat leaders. They have the red shield. And then there's the yellow shield. That's a diplomatic leader. So Adamar, right? Bohemond, Godfrey, Baldwin, and Adamar. And then I have 2 of the heavy cavalry. Actually, all the heavy cavalry that were in Constantinople. 2 heavy infantry. And 4 militia units. All of them are going to make up this force that I'm going to be rolling, conducting a leader land march from Constantinople into Nicaea, the fortress of Nicaea, and we're going to have a nice little combat here. So I'm going to leave them out just for now. In fact, I may actually do the whole combat from right up there, so that way I don't have to, I'm not going to keep moving things down to the battle display at the bottom of the map. I think I already mentioned that to you guys. Too much hassle there. So first regular action, let's do a leader land march. Designate 1 Christian force containing a leader. Well, it's got multiple leaders. Roll 2 dice, you total the results. The total is the force's movement allowance. If the total is exactly 7, then we make an attrition check. If that happens, that's very, very bad, so we do not want that. All right, we'll make our leader land march roll. We just do not want to get a 7, 6, and 11. So number doesn't matter because we're only moving in 1 space. So our force moves from Constantinople, again, it's this force right here, I just have them all spread out, to Nicaea. Nicaea is a fortress currently controlled by the Muslims, so there's going to be a combat. So let's go ahead and jump right into the combat procedure. So what we do is, again, we would use maybe, the battle display if you want to. If you're playing by yourself, I'm not going to. I'm just going to use, just basically use it up here. So you place your units out. You're going to reveal them. You place them in the battle display. You put the battle marker in the location. Again, for us, it doesn't really matter because we have them right there, but just to show. And that'll tell us who has a tactical edge once you roll for it. Now we reinforce the Muslims. So we check the Muslim reaction level here, which is at 1, which means we roll 1d6, and then we draw that many units from the cup of whatever forces there are. So it's the Seljuk Muslims. Roll 1d6, a 3. Beautiful. So we go ahead, out of the cup for them, go ahead and draw 3. Boom. We'll lay them out. So they have a militia unit there now, and I'll zoom in so you guys can at least get a better idea. A 3 horse archer, a 2 horse archer. Again, they're not in this space. We're up in Nicaea. Don't want to forget that. And then another horse archer. Jesus, a lot of horse archers here. No leaders, though. Interesting. Okay. So we've rolled for a Muslim being reinforced, right? And as we kind of imagine, those are the ones that we didn't realize were there, right? We didn't realize how many were actually there. Now we determine tactical edge. That is who is going to be rolling for their attack first, because the attacker rolls for all their hits. You apply them, then the defenders, if there are any left, rolls for their hits. Christians, we get a +1 for any leader. And there's some other pluses. There's a pilgrim marker, if we have more horse archers and we're not in a fortress, or if we're defending Jerusalem. So we just have a +1 now for having a leader. For them, if they have a leader, which they do not, it's all horse archer and then foot unit here. If they have more horse archers, which they do, but it has to be not in a fortress, right? Think of being out on a plain fighting, not cooped up in a fortress. Horse archers are going to help you there. If it's an ambush or if they're defending Jerusalem. And defender wins ties in fortresses. Just keep that in mind. So we do have, now we don't have tactical edge yet, we got to roll. We have a +1 on our roll. So we're the red, they're the green. We get a +1. And we can tie on the die because our +1 will help win. So our 4 became a 5, but they rolled a 6. They're higher, so they have tactical edge, which means they get to fire first. They get to have their attacks first. Now, you would determine the number of rounds in a battle if it was a battle that occurred anywhere else other than a fortress. It's at Nicaea, which is a fortress, so there'll only be 1 round of battle. Otherwise, you roll a 1d6, and whatever you get, you place the battle round marker in that location. Okay, combat, or determining hits and everything is super simple. Basically, you're looking at the combat strength for your units, and you want to roll that die or less, that number or less on a 1d6. So we'll start off with the horse archer that has a 3 strength. He wants a 3 or less. I want him to get a 4 or higher. Good for me, bad for him, so that's a miss. The 2, that is a hit. So I apply hits. I get to pick where they're applied to when they're attacking me. I'm going to go ahead and apply it to one of these militia units. Reduce him. Oh, he has no backside. Means he gets thrown into the Crusader Cup. He is eliminated. And the 2-1 strength. So let's roll for both of them at once. And 2 misses. All right. So now I get to fire back, as the attacker. I did not have tactical edge, but now I get to shoot back, fire back, attack back with all my units. So let's start off our 2 leaders that are both 5s. They're also heavy cavalry, HC, so they're not just the leader marker by itself, like they have a force with them. I'll roll 2 dice. Again, 5 or less is going to be hits. 6 and a 1, so a miss and a hit. Now you apply to the lowest strength, so either one of those doesn't matter, and they go right back into the cup for the Seljuks. Now that was both leaders there. I'll roll for Baldwin, the leader. He's a 3, a 1, and taking out my units. That is a hit, so I'll eliminate this militia. Last leader, Adamar. He's a 2. That's also a hit. He eliminates the horse archer here. And there's only 1 horse archer left, so out of these, my heavy cavalry, heavy infantry, and then the militia, they're really good for absorbing hits. Sorry, guys. But both heavy cavalry, 3s. That's 1 hit. And see, they have no reduced side. They are eliminated. So I win the battle. If one side has the only remaining units after all the battle rounds, or each battle round, that side wins. So I win, so I get to remain in that space, and I take control of Nicaea. Beautiful. If they had a leader, which I kind of wish I had drawn one, I'd actually gain a special action, and I get to pick a pilgrimage marker. So I kind of like it when I'm playing and I get to eliminate some of the Muslim leaders because it gives me even a bigger bonus than just, taking over an area. But hey, we took Fortress of Nicaea. Not bad. Good job, everybody. Good job, Christian. So captured it pretty quickly and efficiently. And yeah, that's it for say if it had been a stalemate. So say we had not eliminated all of them, which happens quite a bit. If you don't see it this game, it does happen a lot. So say after 1 round, because it's in a fortress, right? There's only 1 round. They had units left. I had units left. In that case, attacking force would withdraw. Makes sense, right? Now you can actually withdraw forward. So technically, I could withdraw down to Duraleum and then keep moving, or as I did, capture Nicaea as I did. So, but if it is a stalemate, for any Muslim units that are left, you flip them over so you can't see them, mix them up, leave 1 there, and now he's flipped on his backside, so you don't know what his strength is, what unit it is, and then you return the rest to the cup. But that's not what happened. Christians won, so we capture Nicaea. Well done, guys. All right, so that was 1 regular action. Let's go to the second regular action. We're going to build another force, but we need some reinforcements. So let's do some recruiting. So in Constantinople, a port, Armenian fortress, or Crusader pilgrimage fortress, right? Antioch, Tripoli, Acre, Jerusalem. You can recruit units. So you're drawing, which basically you're spending action drawing from a cup. A military leader draws 1. A diplomatic leader, with the yellow, draws 2. Thankfully, we have a couple up here, so we're going to be able to draw 2. So we'll spend our second action, so we'll go to the third, and draw 2 of the units. A fleet, which I did not want, no interest in, and heavy cavalry, which I definitely wanted. Yeah, the fleet, I really don't, as the Crusaders, I don't really give a crap about the fleet. I mean, it's there, it's whatever, but I don't really give a shit. All right, so heavy cavalry. We had our third and final action. Let's see, should we send the Byzantines out? Maybe send their fleet out. Let's try that. So for the Byzantines, they have the Mediterranean route. They want to capture Rhodes and then Cyprus, especially because again it's a Byzantine objective fortress. They want to get moved up there. So let's go ahead with them. Let's do their fleet leader, And then they have 2 regular fleet units. And the... not the Varangian. He's probably going to stay with Alexios. But maybe these 2 heavy infantry. And... yeah. So each fleet can carry a combat unit. So 2 fleets, 2 heavy infantry. And then the leader just coming with. So we'll do a leader C move. 2 dice, total results. There's their movement allowance. If die roll is 7 or 8, they must make an attrition check. So hopefully do not get a 7 or 8. 6, 12, beautiful. So they get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now when you enter a fortress, the I believe the movement ends. So affects that movement, none. Oh, maybe it's when there's an enemy fortress. So we get to keep going. Beautiful. So what you get to do is you actually get to drop off units when you're moving. So if you're moving, you get to drop off and pick up units. So Rhodes will go ahead and drop off a heavy infantry. Continue on here and then to Cyprus, which will stop and deploy. And we've captured Cyprus. Beautiful. And I'll put these there. Now, the Byzantines have the entire Mediterranean route captured. If the infantry there, he's just sort of hanging out to make sure that he doesn't lose Rhodes to the Muslims. Okay, looks good there. So that was the 3rd and final action, wasn't it? Yep, so now we go to the special actions determination. So what you do for that, pretty simple. Basically, you check for Crusader pilgrimage fortresses. Each of them that you have control of with a leader, you gain a special action, which for us we have none. That'll be later in the game. If the Byzantine forces control 3 or more of their objective fortresses, which again with the ones with the icon here, oops, right there, then you gain 1, which I only control 1, Cyprus. And then finally Armenia. If Armenian forces control both Armenian fortresses, which they do, you gain 1. So we get 1. And I think I mentioned at the beginning that basically you're going to start off with defaulting for 1 special action. Let's recruit for them. Or should recruit for... yeah, let's recruit and build up for our Christian forces. So let's go ahead and with our 1 special action, we'll spend it on a recruiting. And we will recruit again in Constantinople. 2 units, please no fleets. Boom, heavy infantry and heavy cavalry. That is beautiful. So we're going to have a wonderful force that 1097 summer, we're going to take off from there. Okay. So that is it for, that was a special action execution. So Muslim response check. This is where you're going to see if the Muslim response level here goes up. What you do is you check the number of fortresses that you control. In this case, we control 1, 2, 3. And then you roll 3d6 for the Muslims. And if you get that number or less, so basically the more fortresses you control, the more likely it's going to go up, right? So 10, 11, 12. Thankfully, we don't control 12 or more fortresses, so we are good for now. Trust me, later on, you're going to control 10, 11, 12, 13 fortresses, and then you're going to be in trouble. So it's going to start going up. So we are good for now. Now we check for the Muslim counteroffensive. So you roll on the Muslim counteroffensive table. We'll do the green die first since it's their action. 6 and 1. So 6 and 1. Raid Rhodes. Always place Fatimid units. That's right. So when you're attacking from... so basically the Fatimids, Egyptians, so out of their pile, they're going to raid Rhodes here. So how does that work? Pretty simple. You're going to roll a 1d6. See how many units raid Rhodes? 2. So 2 units. 2 of the Fatimid units. I draw randomly. I'm going to pop up. So a militia and another militia. So a couple weaker ground units are going to show up and attack. You're not rolling any extra reinforcements. That's what's attacking. And we'll go ahead and have a regular combat other than no reinforcements. Those are the units. We have to determine who are the tactical edge. Again, we would, place the marker if we're going to use the battle display, but we're just going to fight the battle right at Rhodes, because why not? So let's determine a tactical edge. For us, we have no leaders, but we are in... we don't get a plus for the fortress, but we win ties in a fortress. And then same thing, they don't have any leaders or anything like that. So basically straight die rolls, but I win ties. So come on, we want the red die to be higher. And green die is higher. So again, the Muslims have tactical edge, so it'd be like that. They have a tactical edge. So they get to fire first. They have 2 units. If any of them rolls a 1, it'll be a hit. 4 and a 5, beautiful. And now I get to go ahead and fire back. And remember, we're not determining rounds because we're fighting in a fortress. So there's just the 1 combat. I have a 3 combat strength. That's a hit, so I eliminate 1 of the Fatimid units. And that's the 1 round of combat is done, so it's a stalemate. Battle ends in a draw. Attacking force must withdraw. It's a Muslim force, so the Fatimids are going to return to the cup. And I keep control of Rhodes. So that's why you drop off units like that, because you literally just saw them raid Rhodes. So that's exactly why you do it that way. All right, that's it for the Muslim counteroffensive. And besides the raid you just saw, they could do like a full attack, which is where they actually check. They follow a route from Jerusalem along, the central, coastal, or eastern route, and then they see as soon as they get to Christian forces, then they will attack them. Okay, so that is it. Supply is only in the autumn turn, which would be 2 turns from now. So I go back to the event step, and you go to the next turn, summer of 1097. Let's go ahead and play that one out as well. Okay, first step is the event step. So again, we're going to roll in the events. The red die first, event table. 4 and 3. Fatimids intervene. This goes into effect only if Christian forces control 2 or more Crusader pilgrimage fortresses, right? So if we controlled Antioch and Tripoli, or Antioch and Damascus, or Edessa and Antioch, etc., then the Fatimids would intervene, and they would actually take control of Jerusalem. And I think there'd be a couple other small changes, but basically the Fatimids would be a little bit more active in the game. As it is, it doesn't happen, so good for us. Okay, that's it for the event. Now we'll go to the first regular action. Let's go ahead. I think we've done enough recruiting. We built up a little bit of an army. Let's get going here. So we'll leave our army at Nicaea for now. Let's get our forces here. I'm going to build a force. I'm going to take the... Should I take all of them, or should I leave? I'll leave Robert F behind, and then I'm going to take the rest of these. So 5 leaders, 3 combat, 2 diplomatic leaders, the 2 heavy cavalry. This could be a heck of a force. 3 heavy infantry, and then what do we got here? 4 militia. Oh boy, I hope I don't get an attrition check, or I will be doomed. And we're going to do a march, and we're going to be heading down the coastal route. So got a nice army going down the central route. I'm going to have a really nice force going down the coastal route. Let's see what we can do. So let's do for our first action a leader land march. So remember, we roll 2d6 as long as you don't get a 7. A 7 is an attrition, not good. Let's go ahead and roll 2d6. All right. So anything but a 7. 6. I'll take it. So we'll begin our march here. 1, 2, Pergamum, and then 3 into Smyrna, which is a fortress with Muslim forces. So we will fight them right here. And we'll go ahead and lay it out here. Again, just like the other combat, I don't really want to move everybody down to the battle display. Half the time when I was playing without recording, I did the same thing. I just did the combat wherever it made sense to, wherever everyone was, because moving them all over the place kind of gets annoying. So a slight flaw in the game. All right. So again, we are attacking a fortress. We're going to conduct a combat here. So first step, reinforce the Muslims. So you roll a 1d6 to see how many units they have. A 5. Oh no, that's not good. All right, so they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh boy. Oh, that's a leader. So, and the 2, and another 2, horse archer, Seljuk horse archers, horse archer. Oh man, that's infantry. Okay. Whew. All right. Reveal them. Battle display. Put the marker up there. Right. So again, the battle's happening right over there. Let's determine tactical edge. So looks like it's going to be tied for the die roll, but they're going to win ties because they're in a fortress. Because we have leaders, they have leaders, so no pluses. Again, horse archers don't matter when you're fighting in a fortress. So straight die roll, but they win ties, so I need to roll better than them. Red die higher. I think I've lost it 2 times, so I really want it this time. I get it. All right, 4 versus a 1. So I do win, so I have the tactical edge. So let's go ahead and fire off our units and see what we can do here. So Tancred, heavy cavalry leader, with a 4. Okay, that's a miss. Move him out of the way a little bit. Robert N, leader with 3. That's a hit. So apply it to the lowest strength. Hugh and Stephen are both 2s, so I'll roll both of them. That's 1 hit. Oh, very nice. And then Raymond is a 3. Oh, could use that one. And then let's do both of our heavy cavalry. Those are 3s. Come on. It's 1 hit. Oh boy, this isn't good. And then all 3 heavy infantry, so I'll roll for 2 of them and then 1. 3s, 3s, 3s. 3s are less. No! So that's 1 hit. Get rid of the horse archer. So down to 2 units. But then all I have left are my militia, which have 1. So I have to roll 1s for hits. No hits. And that die went crazy. And no hits. Ah! So they fire back. So 2 or less are hits on me. And of course they get 2 hits. Oh my gosh. We'll go ahead and knock out 2 of our militia. Sorry guys, they're good from taking the hits. As soon as they're gone though, then you're in trouble. Okay, and that was it. You only get 1 round battle in a fortress, so they defeated us, or I should say it's a stalemate. Technically it's a stalemate. So I have to retreat. So my entire army will retreat. And what we do is we flip over these 2, mix them up a little bit, whatever. One of them stays, and one goes back in the cup. And now it's unknown exactly who's there for the reinforcements. Luckily, though, I didn't lose any leaders, anything like that. So if that happens, it's not good for you. Okay, and that was just the first regular action, right? So we have a second regular action as well. Let's think about it, see what we want to do. All right, I think we want to get the Byzantines moving here. We want to get them heading down the eastern route. So I think Alexios, Dukas, you can take Varangian heavy infantry, a couple heavy cavalry, actually all of them, and this militia unit. And he'll leave behind Takitos, just in case he needs to for some reason, in Constantinople. You're in charge while we're gone. All right. Put them there, just get them out of the way. Beautiful. So for our second regular action, we're going to do, leader land march. Let's roll 2d6 and see what happens. Don't want a 7. Don't want a 7. We got a 7. That is terrible. So when you get a 7, you have to check for attrition. I've mentioned this before. Attrition, you roll 1d6. Number units not affected. All units are reduced by 1 step. So we want to roll high. We want to roll high. We want to roll high. 6. Oh, thank God. All right, so technically we get what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everybody except one unit. Unpick the militia. He's reduced, which means he is eliminated. But I'll take it. Sorry, buddy. All right. But what we rolled a 7, so we get to move though. So 1, 2, 3, dun dun dun, and Syra and Kira and Kyra, we will fight. Try to capture this Byzantine objective fortress. Oh man, we got some good units. I have a good feeling about this one. He was not supposed to be that. He was supposed to be a 1 militia. Did I have him there already? It's not supposed to be a secret one. He was supposed to be a 1 militia unit. So I must have been from my previous playthrough. All right, there you go. So he's 1 militia. We'll have him come out. And now remember, we roll 1d6 to see how many Muslim forces we draw. 6. Which we can't win this combat because we only have 6 and there's going to be 7 units there. So even if everyone is a hit, 3, 4, 5, 6, we physically cannot win this combat. That sucks. All right. Oh, man. That's tough. I mean, tough for us. Good for them. Okay. I know. Excitement to move encounters around. Getting ready for combat. I know, guys. I know. I hear you. I hear you. But too bad. All right. Units are revealed. We determine the tactical edge. So it's going to be... We both have leaders in a fortress. So basically, they win ties. Numbers are the same. They win ties. I'm red. They are green. So they win. So they have tactical edge, as usual. It's not good for us. So let's roll for their 4. That's a hit. So we'll apply that to heavy cavalry here. And then they have 4 units that have a 2. Let's roll for 3 of them. 1, 2 hits. Are you serious? 1, 2. And then they have this unit left with a 2. Miss. And then 2 1s. Okay, misses. Okay. So what's left of my force will fire back. Alexios, him and his heavy cavalry. 4. He's a 5, so that eliminates militia. 3. That's a hit. Again, starts with the lowest strength. 2 2s. That's 1 hit. Leaders last, for the record. And then the 1. Miss. And then the Iranian 4. That was also a 6. That was a miss, too. Okay. So that is the 1 round of battle. Again, battle is occurring in a fortress. Oh, it kind of sucks. You can see the multiple battle rounds, but it is what it is. It's stalemate. Attacker, though, I will have to withdraw, obviously. Unable to capture the fortress. So we were hit by attrition on the way, and we were rejected from the fortress. So what I'll do is flip them up. Flip around, upside down. And put one there. All right, that's it for them. And then let's go ahead and... with our third action. Let's keep marching down from Nicaea anyway. So let's go ahead and do a leader land march. As long as you don't roll a 7, we're good. 6 and 11, beautiful. So everyone moves together. 1, 2, boom, Iconium. Let's go ahead and have a combat there. Kick some butt there, try to capture Iconium. So we'll roll for Muslim reinforcements, a 1. Absolutely beautiful. I would like a leader, though. I would like to defeat a leader. We'll check for the tactical edge. Straight die roll. Actually, I think we get a plus anyway, but we beat him, so it doesn't matter. So we have tactical advantage, tactical edge. So we get to fire first. Feeling we're going to whoop him here. Let's roll both of our 5s. 2 hits, eliminated. Boom, we captured Iconium. Nice and easy. Nice, easy battle there. Not all going to be that way, but that one was. That one sure was. Beautiful. All right, so that is it for our regular actions. So you go to the special action determinations. All right, special actions. Unfortunately, we're still only going to have the 1. If we had been, the Byzantines had been successful up in the eastern route and captured Ancyra, we'd have 1, 2, 3 Byzantine objective fortresses, and we'd have additional plus from that. But we do not, so it's just the 1 special action from controlling the Armenian fortresses. So, all right, we have the 1 special action. Let's go ahead and do recruiting. Won't be quite as official or efficient. Oh no, it can do it too. So we'll use the diplomatic. So Stephen or Remel to recruit here. He's going to recruit 2 units. A heavy infantry, beautiful, and militia. I'll take it. Heavy infantry and militia. Oh yeah, heck of a force there. All right, now with special action execution, Muslim response checks, and now it's where we check against. Remember the number of fortresses that we control. I like to go by the routes and check. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I was supposed to count these, I think, earlier. I messed up. And and then 5, 6. So, unlikely, but possible. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, that's not good. So, what that does is the Muslim reaction level goes up to a 2, which means every time we attack and we're rolling with that reinforcing the Muslims, you roll 2d6 instead of 1d6. That's really, really not good. Okay, let's do the Muslim counteroffensive. So check the Muslim counteroffensive table. Green die first. 2 and 1. So 2. Oh, that was a 1. Muslim relief force, coastal route. So, relief force. All right, so the way it works is an attack would attack no matter what. The relief force attacks if it's in a fortress. Now it's considered a raid, though, because it's not in a fortress. So basically going to raid Pergamum location. So, which I do have a tremendous force here. So I'm not saying I wanted to get attacked, but at least I have, as I'm spreading the units out, have a very strong force. So let's go ahead and start putting them out here. And so they will attack me at Pergamum. But remember, the Muslim reaction only went up by 2. So they're rolling 1 die for attack. They roll 2 dice. And oh boy. 6 total. Okay, well, could be a lot worse. Okay. So we are attacked by 6 Muslim units. Them out by strength. And no leaders, though. Bummer. I'm not getting any luck with the leaders, because my last playthrough I just did, I had a bunch of leaders that I killed, which gave me special actions and pilgrimage markers, so this is not good. But anyway, is where it is. All right, so we'll determine, right? Roll to determine the tactical edge, which I get +1 for my leaders. They have none. We're not in a fortress. Here you go. Hey, you guys get to actually see a battle that takes multiple rounds. So we'll determine tactical edge first. So I have a +1 for my leaders. They do have more horse archers though, so they get a +1 for that. So it's basically straight die roll, but I win ties. And I win, so I do have tactical edge. And we will see how many rounds there are. 4. Up to 4 battle rounds. All right, so I get to go first though. So let's go ahead and start firing off. So Tancred with his 4. That's a hit. Robert N with a 3. That's a miss. Hugh with a 2. Oh, and then Stephen with a 2 as well. 1 hit. Raymond with a 3. 2 heavy cavalries, each with 3s. It's 1 hit. And then I have, 4 heavy infantry with 3s, so roll 2 and 2. So 1 hit. Really need 2 more hits. Well, I mean, should be fine either way, but 1 more hit there. And finally, my militia with 1s. Misses and misses. Oh, so it should have been 1 roll. And now their heavy cavalry fires with their 2. He misses. So now we go to 3rd round of battle, or 2nd round, I guess you would say. And we keep the tactical edge, and we go ahead, and now we get to fire, in which case now we will definitely eliminate him. So Tancred with a 4, that's a hit, and he is eliminated. Boom. And we defeat the Muslim raiding force that was attacking us at Pergamum. Again, though, no leaders were drawn, so we don't get any extra special actions, and no pilgrim markers, which is a real bummer. Really wanted to start getting those. Yeah, my last playthrough, I was getting a ton of them, and that really helped me to, I think, do well. So, but there you go. Pergamum. We defended it. Beautiful. All right. That is it for the Muslim counteroffensive. So it'll be supply step. It was autumn. It's not. So we go back to the event step. And 1097, autumn. It's the last turn of the year. So we'd play through normally, and at the end you'd check for supply. So any units that are not in like a fortress, that are not in a town or in a port, if you're not able to put them in supply with a pilgrimage marker, for example, this stack of Byzantines here in the eastern route, as of right now, is out of supply, which would not be good. So I think I'm going to end this here, though. I may shoot ahead, show you guys some video from a little bit farther ahead in a game, like the middle of a game. And then after that, yeah, I'll end with a little mini review at the end. So hope you guys enjoyed this so far, but let's see what we got in the future. Okay, so I've already shown you guys some gameplay. I've explained everything, the different mechanics and systems. Let's kind of jump ahead a little bit. So this is a game that I was playing. If you look at the top right, you can see the turn is summer of 1098. So I am on the 5th turn out of 9. So I'm just starting to go into the second half of the game. This will be the very first step, which is during the event step. And then obviously I have not determined my special actions yet. Let's just kind of cover the game board. I'm not going to do gameplay from this point on. I just want to show you guys kind of actual gameplay where you can kind of end up, say, halfway getting towards the end. So just kind of looking at the overall map here. Starting up with Constantinople, you can see I still do have some Crusader forces there. I probably should have sent them out either with my 2 main armies, which I will show here in a minute, or maybe I should have used them, or should use them very soon, maybe do some recruiting up there, build up another little 3rd army, and then send them out. We'll see what I need to do. Let's start with the eastern route. We'll look at the central, and then we'll look at the coastal. And then check the sea route here. So checking the eastern route, you can see I did not make it very far. So I sent no actual Crusader forces on that route. I just sent Emperor Alexios, right? Our good friend there, Emperor Alexios. I just sent him and some Byzantine forces. And they've made a couple tries on the fortress here at Ancyra, trying to capture that, and have been rejected every single time. So not a whole lot of luck. They did have to survive the actual autumn 1097 turn, which has a supply check, which any of your forces that are not in a fortress, they're not in a town, they're not in a port, and there's a few other things, camps, castles, etc. Those you build, by the way, right? If they're not in those, they have to check for supply. And they're out of supply at that point, and it's pretty brutal because you roll a 1d6, and anything over whatever you roll, those units are reduced or eliminated, I believe it is. So, yeah, it's pretty rough. But I actually rolled pretty well, and I survived it, even though they were kind of out in this would be considered open terrain. So, as it is, though, and as we check the other routes, actually, for the Byzantines, we've actually, one of their goals, or one of your goals as a player, is to capture the Byzantine objective fortresses. Now, yes, more of them is better for victory points at the end, but as long as you control 3 or more, you do gain a special action each turn. So, it's pretty nice to try to get at least 3 of them captured, which, no, I did not have any luck on the eastern route, but if you check the central route here at Iconium, I have captured one here, and I actually have some Byzantine forces there. So that's 1. On the coastal route, I've captured Ephesus, which I have control of here. And then on the actual sea lane, the sea route here, we've captured Cyprus. So, and I have my Byzantine forces there. So that's 3. That does give us at least that extra special action each turn. Speaking of that central route, you can see I've pushed out. Not only, obviously, like I said, I have Iconium's captured and is controlled by Byzantine forces, but if you continue on, you can see that I have actually, and I put the Armenia activated. There's a box for it down in the bottom left, but a lot of these boxes, I mean, they're oversized. They're kind of ridiculous. I'll talk about that in a little bit when I get to my pros, cons, final thoughts with my mini review. But you have the Armenian Christians here. I basically have just kept them there. Armenia was activated, so it is sort of counts for VP purposes. And then I have 2 main Crusader armies. and has pushed back on that central route, and they're in Aleppo right now. Nice, strong army, multiple leaders. Take a look at them quick. Heavy cavalry, so multiple leaders, military leaders and diplomatic leaders, heavy cavalry, and some heavy infantry. No militia right now, so probably need to maybe reduce some recruiting at some point once I'm in a better spot that I can actually do that. I can't do any recruiting here at Aleppo. It's a town, but I don't believe you can count for recruiting. Let me double check for town. Recruiting possible? No, right. Yeah, I need to be in a port or somewhere else. So that army may be as is. So that's as far as I made it here. My goal with Aleppo and that force in the central route is probably, I'm probably going to ignore the assassin fortress there. I'm probably, for this gameplay, or this particular playthrough, probably just going to push on through and move on towards Jerusalem. All right, now we'll look at the coastal route. So heading out, like I said, I was able to capture Ephesus and move some Byzantines in to take, so they have control of it. Moved on. Seleucia, Tarsus. Now, here's what happened here. So if you look, you're like, well, wait a second, there's Muslim forces there in Tarsus. The Seljuk Muslims took it back. So I had pushed through. I had captured Tarsus. I actually had Byzantine forces there, but a very light force, a very small force. My Crusader army had moved on, and I captured Antioch just, I believe, last turn, or was it? Yeah, it wouldn't have been this turn, obviously, because I'm starting the turn, so just last turn. So actually, historically, I believe it was June of 1098. So I am slightly ahead of schedule. But June of 1098, historically, the Crusaders captured the, one of the goals, which was Antioch. So that is a Crusader pilgrimage fortress, right? Remember, it has the shield. So there's several of them, right? So that was one of them that I'd captured. So I do have captured one of those, again, ahead of schedule. And again, a nice army, some leaders here, Godfrey, Hitker, Baldwin, and then a couple heavy infantry, a couple heavy cavalry, some militia for support. So definitely have a really decent force here. One thing I wish I had brought a diplomatic leader with, because then I could do more efficient recruiting and pilgrimages from Antioch. But anyway, what happened was the last turn, the Muslims raided Tarsus and they took it back. So they eliminated the Byzantine garrison and they took it back, and they now have control of it. So technically I did have control of, would have been 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Byzantine objective fortresses. Now it's only 3. Again, still get the special action. All I needed was 3. But yeah, I got pushed out there. So who knows what I'll do if I'll take it back. But here's the deal. All the Seljuk Muslims that were up in Anatolia area were not all, defeated or eliminated as the Crusaders made their way down right to the Levant and took the actual Crusader cities that they wanted to take, right? The different locations, Antioch, Tripoli, right? Acre, Jerusalem. So we'll see what I do, but I think I may leave it because, again, my goals are mainly of Antioch. My goal now, right? Tripoli, Acre, and then ultimate goal, Jerusalem. So, and as for the ocean here, yep, I was able to take the small force that the Byzantines have for fleets, take Rhodes as a fortress. It's a port, but it is, you want to have it, but it doesn't actually help for the Byzantine objective fortresses. Cyprus does, though, and I was able to take Cyprus, and I have a decent force there, so I'm not as worried about Cyprus being taken back, which would, in that case, would be from the Fatimids from Egypt, which, remember, they have kind of a separate cup. So they're not, in my game, they're not active yet. There was an opportunity for them to intervene. However, I had to control 2 or more Crusader pilgrimage fortresses. I only control 1, Antioch, so they did not intervene at that point. A couple other things. Muslim reaction chart. They had moved up to 2, which would mean they'd roll 2d6 for reinforcements each turn, which is absolutely brutal. But I was able to play the pilgrimage markers, any of the ones that have negotiation. One of the things you can do is, negotiate, right, to reduce that down. So I spent the 1. I didn't have negotiation. I actually had the where is it at? Somewhere in here. Dun-dun-dun. So, the spear that pierced Christ, I was able to use that and reduce it back down to 1. You got to keep that Muslim reaction level here low. You got to keep it low. You cannot have it be 2 or, I mean, I can't even imagine 3. 2 is bad enough. 2d6 units for reinforcements and battles. Like, you're not going to win your battles then. So definitely going to keep that down. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So again, I'm not going to do any more gameplay. I'm just going to go from here into pros, cons, and then final thoughts and a mini review. But I'm making good progress. A couple areas, they took back Tarsus, fine. Byzantines got stopped up here in the eastern route, fine. I mean, if anything, I could probably retreat Alexios back to Constantinople. Maybe it'd be nice to have those Crusader units, out helping me. Having Adamar, he was the one, I believe, appointed by, he was the Pope legate, right? Appointed by Pope Urban II. With my armies, I believe with the army at Antioch would have been nice, because I don't have a diplomatic leader there. I just have combat leaders. So definitely some things you can change, but hey, that's the thing. That's why I keep playing, right? You play once, you go back, I'm going to do this different. You'll play through and you'll say, wait, I want to do that different. So, yeah, I'm, you know what? I don't want to jump ahead. Let's go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll give you my pros, cons, and final thoughts in a mini review. So let's go to that. Okay, mini review time. Pros and cons, as always, cons first. I have 2 issues with the map/board. The first is the artwork of the map. This actual kind of area here, it's pretty boring. Not a whole lot going on. And then also there are a couple anachronisms. Apparently there's a couple of these lakes on here are artificial. They didn't exist at the time of the Crusades. They don't impact gameplay, and I did not know enough about the geography of Anatolia to be aware of that, but I have seen it mentioned online. So just something to be aware of. My second issue is one of, and this is more important to me, is one of wasted space. The board, right, so not just the map, but the overall board, it's really too big for what you need for the gameplay. Now, I understand this is because, every magazine wargame from Decision Games comes on a full-size map, right? I'm sure that's for printing consistency, cost reasons, etc. But this map itself, the whole thing could be shrunk down by 25%, and you get the exact same experience. In fact, not just the same experience, but as a solitaire gamer, you'll be able to reach everything a lot easier. Some of these box holding boxes are way too big, way too big. All you put in here is this little marker, right? Muslim reaction marker, the battle round marker. Why are these boxes so huge? The sequence of play here, that's not enough. That's not enough information. Yet there's a whole turn, step, and special action. So really, you don't even need the sequence of play down here, because you basically have that. I don't understand, the terrain effects chart. It's way too big for the terrain. A lot of these could have been cut way down. Again, these holding boxes shrunk. And the play area, there's a couple things I wouldn't mind staying the same or bigger, maybe the battle display. But even then, the battle display, instead of being down here at the very bottom, it should probably be shifted maybe up more towards the middle, because it can be a little fiddly at times, moving counters from spaces back here, spaces back here. So just some things could have been tightened up and or shrunk down. Third, the Muslim AI, it's very simple. And I don't mind a simpler AI for these solitaire games, right? It makes the game easier to learn and faster to play. But you need to be aware that the game relies on a lot of random die rolls, both for combat, right, which we've talked about, and the Muslim reactions. You're not going to get directed, intelligent responses to your actions other than the things that are queued up by, say, controlling a certain amount of fortresses, things like that, which are appreciated. Okay, that's it for my cons. Now, talk about my pros. I do like the look of the counters. Yes, I talked about the map, but as people on my channel pointed out when I said the game doesn't look great on the table, the counters are attractive, and I'll give them and the game that. While I think a deluxe edition could really take the look of this one to a higher level, I do like the counters and the artwork other than the map, right? Even just kind of seeing them in these cups and everything like that. I mean, they look good. They look attractive. Good artwork on them, right? I really like the Crusader artwork. These heavy infantry, heavy cavalry. I do like the look of the counter artwork itself. Second, replayability. It's solid. You're gonna start right from Constantinople each time you play, and you're gonna work your way down right these same paths. But there's a lot of luck in the game, a lot of drawing from cups, and, you know, from everything from combat units to pilgrimage markers, a lot of die rolling. So each turn and each playthrough is going to play out different. You're going to have to make different choices. And not only that, but as when it comes to your choices, your actions, as I covered at the beginning of the video, there's a ton of actions. There's like a dozen different actions you can take each one of your, and I don't mean one of these actions, I mean like you've taken it, oh, you have an action. You have like 12 different things you can pick to do. So yes, you're going to do a lot of moving and fighting, but there's a bunch of other actions that are going to pop up that you're going to want to do depending on the state of the board and the state of the game. The rules, they're not complex. The rulebook could be a little bit better, but it's fine. But you know, it does play faster than I thought it would. Joseph Miranda designs often have a lot of procedures and steps, which, I mean, there's a decent amount of steps even up here. But if you played his other games, and I've played many of his Solitaire games, this one probably has fewer steps than a lot of his other games. So it just seems to flow a little faster, play a little faster. You're not quite checking as many steps and things like that. All right, done with my pros and cons. Now here's my final thoughts. First Crusade, 1097 through 1099, is a surprisingly good game that I found myself playing for longer than I expected I would. I just did not want to take it off my table. Now, it is ripe for a deluxe edition, which I mentioned earlier, particularly with new map artwork and separate player aids. So there's one I printed off. I wish I could remember his name. It doesn't seem to be written. The player aid's kind of in front of me. I can't see a name on here, so apologies, whoever created it. And I also created my own combat player aid, which I'll upload to Board Game Geek. But it'd be nice to have separate ones. You know, that would also solve, you know, having a new deluxe edition, by the way, would also solve the issue of the game being so hard to get right now. I was looking online, and I've owned this copy for years now. I think I saw a copy selling for nearly $100. Yeah, it's not worth that much. I mean, it's a good game, but it's not worth $100. So give me a deluxe edition now, and we can talk. There's a lot of luck involved, but the game does a good job of simulating history, certainly within the limits of a magazine wargame with a 16-page rulebook. Overall, I can definitely recommend First Crusade 1097 through 1099 if you can get your hands on a copy for a reasonable price, maybe in a trade, or if you have it on your shelf and you like solitaire wargames and, you know, the Middle Ages and the Crusades interest you, at that point, get this baby punched, get it on the table, and get it played. All right, as usual, I like to offer a reading recommendation. Today, you actually get two. Well, the first I did mention in my recon video, and that's Crusaders by Dan Jones. The second is The Crusades by Thomas Asbridge. Personally, I did enjoy Dan Jones' Crusaders more than Thomas Asbridge's The Crusades, as I felt it painted a little bit more of a vivid picture of the Crusades, the Crusader states, and the conflict for the Holy Land overall. But honestly, you can't really go wrong with either. Do keep in mind, though, that neither book focuses solely on the First Crusade. Instead, they both cover the Crusades as a whole, which I did end up appreciating, though, because it gives me a really great idea of both the build-up to it, the actual First Crusade, and then, of course, all the history, right? Basically, the centuries of history that follow it, centuries of conflict, and then even beyond. Okay, thank you to everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this gameplay video with mini review at the end. Please let me know what you think of my video and this game in the comments below. Until next time, everyone, later.